Welcome to Driven for Health. This is episode 36, and really excited to have you here today with Janet and I. Now, Janet is a longevity specialist. She has transformed her life from her 30s, 40s when she realized she just wasn't looking or feeling that great, and we'll go into her story a little bit. And then when she transformed through the last, 2 decades or so at the young age of, I'm not even going to say how old she is or young she is because she does not look how young she is. She's a testament to good health, good nutrition, and just overall taking care of yourself. Let's welcome Janet McConnell to our show, and we're going to jump into longevity. So, Janet, what is one or two key pieces of takeaways you would love for the guests to just grab onto?
Hello, and thank you so much, Coach Brian, for that introduction. And it is okay to say my age. I am going to be 70 in 4 months.
That's incredible, right? I wanted you to say it, not me.
Well, I know in our culture, we're afraid of that, like
Right.
never tell your age. But I mean, if you're a longevity person, you should tell your age because
Totally.
that's the point.
It's a badge of honor for you, right? I hope my goal is I'm 42, almost 43 at the end of this month, being today's December 8th, but 28th is my 43rd birthday. But I just want to look and feel the way I do now when I'm 50, but I imagine that'll keep going until I'm 70. I just want to be young and sprite and energetic and all. So,
Right. Well, so to answer your question, and if you keep going the way you are, you will reach that goal.
thank you.
I think it's important. You said a couple of takeaways.
Yeah, like one or two big things that you want to grab onto, and then we'll jump into the story. So we just hooked the audience, right? We want to get them all ready to go.
Yes. So I think that one of them that I believe very strongly in, that I want people to take away from this, is a way of shedding this idea that aging is something to avoid because we can't avoid it.
No,
So the way to meet it is head on in saying aging is inevitable, but decay is optional.
I love that. That's powerful. I like that a lot. So what she's saying is that you can choose to take care of yourself or let yourself go. But at no matter what point you are in life, and she and I are both a testament to working with way too many clients throughout the years, that no matter where you're at, you still have the choice to improve yourself, even if you let yourself fall victim to a chronic illness, just not paying attention to life, stress, all sorts of different things that life throws at us. You can still choose to do that. So let's jump into your story with that juicy nugget. Tell us, what were some of the, say when you're around my age, that middle life, because that's where a lot of my listeners are in that middle age. They've got young families, kids. It's crazy trying to do all the things. And we know that women are super women for sure, and that's part of your story. But the guys too, they're having their own issues with juggling all the demands in middle age. And we'd much rather have a midlife evolution in a sense of better health than a midlife crisis, and they crash and burn with their relationships, their finances, their career, whatever. We don't need to do that.
Right. Well, I think that sometimes that crisis does come, but it can be the doorway to transformation, and it can be a new beginning. But it doesn't mean you have to have a crisis to be healthy when you're older. It's just sometimes that's the way it's like life takes you by the shoulders and shakes you a little bit.
Right.
So that's exactly what happened to me. And you're absolutely right. I think from our late teens to about 50, depending on the person, those are the hustle years, because that's when you're ramping up your career, you're creating your family, you are establishing yourself in society, and you are, and we're off to the races. So there's so much that you need to do and cram into every day and every week and every year, that, and it's, I mean, quite frankly, it's pretty fun, stressful sometimes, but very aging. And what can happen and what happened for me is that I started out my life very healthy. So as a
Okay.
young person, I was an athlete. My parents were vegetarians. I had this amazing, I became like this iron child and I was good at everything in sports.
Okay.
And as I launched into my 20s, I was still healthy because I had that youthful vitality.
Yes. So many people, they take from that high school and they're athletic, and then it starts to be that some point in the college years or early 20s where they get settled into life. And that's probably what sounds like might have happened to you.
Yes. Yes, my career was so fun and engaging and satisfying, and I just fell in love with it, and I stopped paying attention to my health
Right.
because I was already healthy. I took it for granted. I will admit that. I was
Right.
like, "I don't know what all this business is about going to a gym. I mean, what are you doing?" I mean, I would go on a hike or play a football game or whatever. I could do all those things without training for it. So I didn't really quite understand what the hullabaloo was about
Right.
until I got into my mid 40s. And at that point, I was just a notch below the C suite. I was a director of
Okay.
operations, traveling all over the country.
Right. Lots of responsibilities.
Yes. And sleep deprived, jet
Oh, yeah.
lagged,
Oh, yeah.
eating hotel food and airline food and eating on the run, and usually those foods are not healthy.
Carbs, sodiums, and fats, right?
Fried things and sugary things and caffeinated things. Well, and it was okay. I mean, I wasn't sickly, but I was gaining weight and I was feeling a little more tired and it was harder to keep up, like to bounce back after a difficult week, for
Right.
example. So, anyway, I went to my annual physical when I was 46, as one should do,
Yep.
and the blood work came back, and my doctor, he just kinda sat me down, and he kinda looked at me
Uh,
over his shot glasses,
the talk that you don't want to ever get, right?
right, and he slid a stack of prescriptions across the desk, and he said, "I don't know what's going on with you, Janet, but you have high blood pressure, high
Uh,
cholesterol, high triglycerides, and you are borderline obese, and you are on your way to early heart disease."
right.
And that just hit me so hard. I mean, I knew I was a little fluffy, but so was everybody else.
Right.
I wasn't like fat. Like
Right.
I felt like I was,
Right.
really a health
Well,
hazard.
also just think about the culture that you're in, the position in your career, and just the family raising, all those things that are going on in that
Right.
40-ish time window. I'm feeling it. My oldest is 16. I've got it 16, soon to be 15 in like a week. Then 12 and 10, three boys and girl. I spent at least 15 plus hours Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at after school events, which then cramps my work schedule and capacity to do all that, or let alone do anything for myself.
Right.
It's just
Right.
forget working out. I have to work, go to the after school thing, and then I'm falling asleep by the time it's past bedtime.
Yeah.
And yeah,
It's like your commitments that you set into place because you wanted to, then just kind of become and you can't
right,
escape it. It's like a gravity well that you can't escape
right,
until something just shakes your complete world where you have to stop and take stock. So he had a little pep talk with me and said, "Listen, you're trending down and I don't want to see this. You really are too young to be this old. And so here's some prescriptions to get you back on track. No talk of exercise or what I was eating or anything."
mm-hmm.
And
Just medicine.
I just glanced down at them and those were the medications my grandparents were taking. And I was like,
Ah,
no, no, something
right,
just, I
right,
just, I got stubborn really quickly and I said, "Listen, give me 6 months. Give me,"
right, right.
and and he goes, "Are you bargaining with me?"
Yes, I am.
But he knew me pretty well. I had been seeing him for a few years, and
Right,
so, "All right, let's make the appointment right now. Let's write it down, and you're coming back, and
right,
you'd better show up, and if you're
right.
still not good, then you're taking these prescriptions." I said,
Right,
"Okay, deal."
right.
So
Right. I want to interject real quick, just for everyone listening. The reason the doctors give you prescription is they're there to triage. They're there to help immediately. Everyone knows that it's a lifestyle change. You got to change your nutrition and exercise and all that. But the doctors, due to our healthcare system, their bandwidth, the insurance, all these things that we're not going to talk about, but we know are a big challenge for them to actually serve their clients very well. If you come in with high blood pressure, they give you a blood pressure pill. Tomorrow it's normal and you are inherently healthier and at lower risk. If you have cholesterol issues, you take this pill and it will lower consequently and keep you healthier longer, show less signs. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't do something to get away from that health issue, but I just
right,
want to throw that out there, and that's why
sure.
the doctors do what they do. But they would love that you bargain like Janet. And I can't tell you how many clients that I've had show up on my door saying the doctor wanted to put me on meds, and I said no, and then I didn't know what to do. But was it 29? Yeah, it was episode 29. I had a colleague on. His name was Brian too. He had a 374 blood sugar. He had cholesterol. He had the whole gamut. And he did the exact same that you did. He said, I'm not doing this. If I'm going to die young, then I will, but I'm not taking meds. And then he made quite a shift. He slipped and kind of fell back in old routines, but then he ultimately has had a lifelong shift going into his mid 50s to the point where he has developed a fitness coaching business with his son, his mid 20s son. So it's a complete 180 in lifestyle. So if you're listening in and you are excited about what Janet's saying, listen to episode 29. And Brian has a story that'll help inspire you as well, of being that stubborn, I'm not going to take medicine route. And so what happened after that point that you actually transitioned in the last, what, 2-ish decades?
Right. Well, it was a rude awakening. It was much needed. And I'm really glad that my doctor gave me just a little bit of grace to pull
Right.
myself together. And well, after I had a little hysterical meltdown in the parking lot, I went to
Right.
work and I talked to my boss about it because I said, listen, I've got this thing I need to work on, but I don't want to
Right.
go back on my travel schedule. She said, well, I have a trainer, Janet. Why don't you just hire him? He's fun. He really knows
Yeah.
what he's doing. He'll take care of you. You'll show up because you have an appointment
Yeah.
and start with that and then figure out the rest as you go. And I was
Right.
good at so I did that and he happened to be a bodybuilding trainer and it was fun and I loved it.
Yeah.
So I was very compliant. So I did all of the bodybuilding strength training, got
Right.
stronger, and
Yep.
didn't address my diet at all, Brian.
Okay.
Only worked out, but it was
Gotcha.
3 days a week at 5 a.m.
Yeah, it's
And
committed.
yeah, it was serious. I took it on. And so by the end of 6 months, even without changing my diet, I had lost 35 pounds, which tells you
Okay.
how much I
Yeah.
needed to exercise.
Yeah, exercise really helped.
And the diet came in after, because then after I went to my doctor, got cleared because all of my symptoms were gone and I was in much better shape. I saw these two women that came to my gym training at the same time as me, who were just a little bit younger, but
Yeah.
they were jacked. And I was like, they're lifting the same weights I'm lifting. If I was curling a 20-pound dumbbell, they were curling a 20-pound dumbbell.
Okay.
They look like that. And I remember asking my trainer, why is it that we're doing the same thing and they look like that? And I said, oh, Janet, they're bodybuilding competitors and they're 5 weeks out
Ah.
from the stage.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
they have to eat strategically. And I said, what does that mean?
Right.
And I want it now. So that was a year
Well,
later.
here's the other thing is that you said no to the medicine. Then the next step, you consulted a close friend or a coworker. They gave you a solution. Hey, hire this person that knows what they're doing. And that was just the next step. And then you started showing up, and that was the next step. But just show up when you schedule and do the work they ask. And a personal trainer, I was a personal trainer for 6 years, and then I owned a gym, and that was the main thing. Just show up when we agree that you're going to come and you will be significantly more compliant. And what I'm trying to say to the audience is it's just a simple next step of, okay, I need to move in the direction of getting healthier. And then it starts to unfold. Now she's hooked, bought in. She's already had an incredible transformation so far. But then we're human. We always want more. It just can't always just settle. It's just like, oh, what are they doing? Okay. And that's because your social circles were different as well. And the what was accepted and what was seen as okay and the next step. And that's just is how this unfolds. A tiny little story of me. I ran in high school. I ran in college, realized their warm-up speed was my race pace, it felt like. I said, all right, I'm a little out of my league here, but I went to a Saturday morning running group that was fun and engaging. We get up and run on Saturdays and 12 miles on the Buckeye Trail. All of a sudden, I ran a 50-mile race. I ran a dozen marathons because that's what they did. And guilt by association, I wanted to be like my peers. And so this is where you're at. So what was is some of the shifts that transitioned of, say, that nutrition piece now?
Yeah, that's powerful. What you just described is that surrounding yourself with the people that you want to be more like, because that will inspire you and they'll pull you along on days when you don't feel it, you know?
Yeah, you're not always going to feel it.
Right, right. But so I think what happened too was I had reached that goal of getting off of my doctor's radar. And then I didn't
Right,
have a new goal. But when I saw those ladies
right,
and found out that
right.
they were, I was like, okay, I want that now. So
Yeah,
it's also what is the next goal? And don't leave yourself, treading water for too long without a.
right,
So
right.
I saw that, I wanted that. And a year later, I was on my first bodybuilding stage, but that
Yeah,
required that strategic eating,
right,
which
right,
introduced me to the idea of eating clean, plenty of protein, a balance
right,
of carbs and
right,
fats, healthy carbs, slow carbs, all of that. And then learning how to schedule everything and and
right.
and be very measured and aware so that you can't, as soon as you try to trick yourself, it shows up on your body. Your body doesn't
Yeah.
lie. And it
No.
sucks.
If you're not losing weight, it's because you're not in a calorie deficit.
That's right.
Period.
Yeah, yeah. It's nice that something in this world doesn't lie, but does it have to be your body?
Right, right.
So that began my journey of learning how to eat clean, take care of my body, really honor the hard work. I
Yeah.
could see what was happening to my body and thought, why would I give it junk? Look at it. Look what it's
Right,
doing for me.
right, right,
So I got a respect for my body, which gave me confidence. It changed
right,
everything. And then after a couple of years of that, it really propelled me into wanting to change my life purpose from being
right.
a corporate person for a company. It was a great mission, but it
Yeah.
really was not dear to my heart.
Not in alignment.
Right.
Right,
And so that's when I became a fitness trainer and into all things health and longevity.
right.
And
And,
so that,
and so let's just pause here for a moment. So again, rewinding everything, the doctor appointment turned into talking with your coworker, turned into a personal trainer, turned into 35 pounds down, turned into want to, hey, they're doing what I'm doing. Why am I not getting better results? Turned
yeah,
into you paying a lot more attention to nutrition. And I just want to throw this in here. There are a lot of different ways to go about nutrition in a sense, but Janet was eating whole foods. She was eating portion food. She was having proteins, vegetables, starchy carbs, some fruit, and having balance in the day, eating an appropriate calorie amount for what her body needs were to reach her goals. And whether you want to be a bodybuilder or not, or go on stage or not, that's irrelevant. The physique athletes just stay in a diet longer in a sense. And diet meaning that we're in a cut phase, a fat loss phase for an extended amount of time. And any person could do that if they're willing or want to stay in that cut phase for an extra 2 or 3 months in a sense. And
sure.
then they will be as lean as a stage competitor bodybuilder or physique athlete. And I just want to throw that out there to anyone listening in, that there's no difference of where Janet was when she decided to shift to her getting to that, say, elite level conditioning level. She's just willing to do the work longer. And you could already tell she's a go-getter because of like her career path and all. And then she just shifted that intensity and drive in her career and focused some of it on her health. And it made obviously a lifelong shift. So anyone else can do this. I talk to so many high performing, productive, career driven people, and they're successful and got money in the bank and the car and the vacations in the house and blah, blah, blah. And they don't have the body. And in their high agency or capacity in one area and really low in the other. And one of my habits and strategies, and probably yours as well, because we'll get into the actual coaching piece, is you borrow from this person to pull into this to raise up your health. And that is a very strategic coaching practice that we do. So now you're coaching people. You have some processes here was go heavy and go home myth, right? And strength versus ego lifting and different things. Let's jump into some of your actual, how you coach men, because that's your primary audience too. That's why we're here. And they're, say, 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. What are some of the things that you're seeing, and how do you coach them, and challenges and all?
It appeals to me what you said about having the house and the car and the job and everything, because I would say to your listeners, tend the house that you live in.
Yes.
This one. This is the house you live in your entire life. You can get a new car, but this house, you just get one. So
it wears out.
Right. If you
Sooner
don't
or later.
you don't affect change orders.
Yes.
The blueprint is fine, but you need to affect change orders. So one of the things, in talking about go heavy or go home, which is kind of like a gym bro phrase that we laugh about,
Right.
because, it has the idea of, if you're going to do it, go all the way and don't leave anything behind. So that's okay, but it's really important as we leave our 20s and our 30s, get into midlife and beyond, that if you are in this for the long haul, if you want to live as long as you possibly can, as well as you possibly can, then you have to shift. It doesn't happen overnight, but you have to catch yourself thinking that way. And remember that if you prioritize load over form, then your joints and your tendons and your recovery are going to pay the price. So if you want to build longevity strength, it's not couched in a momentary performance, but in the consistency over time of good form, being intelligent about where your body is, and to not ignore stability, mobility, and balance along with big muscle. Because otherwise you'll have more injuries, longer recovery. I mean, the thing is, when you get older, if you get injured, then it's more of a setback, which is not desirable. And it makes you less motivated, because you're like, oh, I don't even know what I'm doing. This is ridiculous, So, yeah. So I think you made a good point about, you don't have to be a competitive bodybuilder to be in great shape, but some of the habits are similar. It's just that body more intense, but it's still the same.
Well, let's say intent, not necessarily intense. Intent on their purpose to the outcome. The same thing with, say, in the career path of a lot of the guys that we work with. They're very intent on attaining a certain income level, a certain level of status, a certain car, a certain personal brand, in a sense of how people see them. They're very intentional on that, but they don't see the health as one of those areas. And it could totally be from their upbringing to the crazy chaos that comes in the 25 to 50-ish range of life, and trying to juggle everything that's happening there. So the intent of where your health is, and Janet and I both have very strong intent on staying healthy, because obviously it's part of what we do as a profession, which is important. You got to look the part, be the part, but then it's just who we are at our core identity is we are people who take care of themselves, and we do the basic things, because our coaching is probably very similar. Get some sleep, drink water, eat whole foods, eat 3 or 4 times a day, have balanced meals. These are things that I preach for 30 plus episodes, and giving the keys, but it's the accountability or the support, or having that transfer of identity that is the biggest challenge, having that support accountability there. One thing I remember, you speak now, right, on stage and all, and you said friends don't let friends skip leg day or brain day, right?
Yeah, right. Yes, that's a friends don't let friends skip leg day is kind of also a
Right,
phrase that we like to use in the gym because leg day is usually the hardest. And it's
right,
the one people kind of like, they know they need to do it. And sometimes they do, but there's always that feeling of like, oh, it's going to be so
right,
hard. It's going to be a lot.
right.
And what I want to say to people is that in my latest speaking rounds that I've made in the last year, I have really I've dived into brain health a lot and its connection to
Right.
physical activity. And we've known for a long time that cardio, VO2 max, is really good for the brain. We know
Yes.
that community and friendship and
Right.
connection is really good for the brain. But there's so much more to it than just doing Sudoku puzzles to avoid dementia.
Right.
We're finding out in the research now, in the last 4 years, it's been long enough to have longitudinal, double-blind, peer-reviewed research that says
Right.
one of the most important things you can do to catapult your brain for health in the decades to come is really maxing out the strength in your legs. Your
Yes.
legs are the stimulus for BDNF, which is brain derived neurotropic factor, which is like miracle grow for your brain.
Right.
So the lower body work that you do gives you the biggest hormonal and neurological response to be able to rewire frayed connections to create new brain cells, new neurons. And also it helps with improving insulin sensitivity and
Right.
insulin because muscles love sugar. So they're
Yes, they
kind of
do. And
we call
carbs.
yeah,
Well, let's take a time out here. You
yeah.
eat food. Food is derived of calories, then protein, carbs, and fats. And then your body does things with it magically. It takes carbs and break them into glucose. And then that elevates your blood sugar levels. And then your body releases insulin, which then grabs onto the blood sugar and stores. Stores isn't necessarily a good or a bad thing, depending on how you utilize it. And what Jan is referring to is when you do leg day and you have used a lot of gas in the tank being your muscles and the fuel being the muscle glycogen, which your body converts blood sugar into, and carbohydrates that you eat, whether it's simple sugars like the white stuff, candy, honey, or even say like milk or rice, or then we have the just our regular food sources that we have too that then get put into your muscle. And so you work out and then you eat carbs, which is important here, right? We're both of us are in agreement that carbs are important, that you shouldn't cut them out. And so you eat carbs and then they go back into the muscles, which then recover the whole body and the muscles and help keep you strong and energetic and recovering well and all these things. So time back in. Just wanted to clear that for people.
Yeah, that was a really good breakdown of what happens. We think of muscles as a place where glucose just naturally goes, like it's magnetized to go to your
Right.
muscles. If you have more muscle mass, you can process more glucose.
Yes.
And what
Right.
happens is then your insulin sensitivity stays healthy. And the
Right.
reason that's good for your brain is because, I mean, one of the nicknames for dementia is type 3 diabetes.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's because when you become insulin insensitive, not only can it lead to diabetes anyway, it can also encourage dementia processes to begin happening. So
Right.
it's really, so that's why now my clients always come to the gym and they go, "Oh, it's leg day. Friends don't let friends skip brain day."
Yes, yes, that's awesome. And so let's define insulin resistance. So say normally your body you eat this much food and your body releases this much insulin to be able to then grab onto all that and store it where it needs to go. And the muscles and stored body fat, that's your body's constantly storing and releasing carbs, storing and releasing body fat. It happens all day, every day. So people are like, oh, I don't want to store fat. You are going to. It's just a biological process. So your body, you eat this much, you release this much insulin to deal with this. Well, insulin resistance means that you gotta, nothing happens here. You need to here and then here and then here and here, and you keep having to release more, which then places a huge strain on your pancreas and other systems that are going on, because you have all this, you have this much extra insulin every single time that you eat to get the same response that it used to cost here. And it is a big issue, and it does lead to type 2 diabetes, or it goes into the process of where exactly what Janet is talking about is causing dementia. And that's just based on just poor eating patterns, that you could influence dementia happening sooner or more aggressively, even if you were going to get it anyways, but it could be happen sooner, faster, more aggressive if that were to be the case.
Right. Yeah. And also what you're describing in that, you did a really good job of breaking that down, Brian.
I have to keep it as simple as possible for people, or I lose them anyways, right? It's just like, okay, what's the third grade explanation of how we explain this, right?
Well, and when insulin is really high like that, and it's having to increase in order to keep trying to do the job, and you
Right.
have extra insulin in your body, when you have extra insulin in your body that is not reacting with sugar, what that does is it leads to what we call visceral fat. That
Yeah.
is one of the influences of creating
Mhm.
visceral fat. And that is the fat that grows around your internal organs in your
Yes.
abdomen and in
Right.
your chest, your heart,
Right.
your liver, everything. And
Right.
so that is the toxic fat that,
Right.
and one of the signs, this is one of the physical signs that, excuse me, that you have too much insulin swimming around, is when your waist is bigger than your hips. So if you
Yes.
measure
Yes.
around your waist and it's a larger, we talk about the dad
The beer
bod.
belly, exactly what I was going to point out. So you already transition of, if your stomach is hard to push on and it sticks out a lot, then
Yeah.
yeah, you're in
Yeah.
trouble. You have a
Even
lot of
if
visceral fat.
blood test, even if your blood test doesn't quite show it yet,
Right.
as it will. I mean, it's
It will. Yes, it's coming. It's coming. Yep.
right. And so that's the thing to really watch out for, even if your doctor has not, rung the bell yet on you to have to take insulin help. So
Right.
it's really important to get that under control. And I believe that that is one of the cultural things that we kind of make it okay these days when we talk about how 70% of our population is overweight. And it's
Right.
kind of normal, but
Normalized it. Right.
not good for
Right.
longevity. I mean,
No.
obviously, it's
Right.
not going to take you down
It's
the road.
not, it's normalized that the food that you eat on a everyday basis, someone else has prepared for you. It comes in a package, a box, it's got a label on it. These are obviously things that don't necessarily align with eating more of a whole foods diet, which that in and of itself will cause a lot of some of the issues that you're having to reverse, because you'll feel full and more content and have more fiber and more vitamins and minerals, which will then help just manage your overall hunger and help you manage your calories better. And you'll lose weight if you're overweight by stop eating stuff in a box, and or something that's got a lot of sugar or carbs or fats or things that we referenced even earlier in the call of that with your travel career, right? You lived it, you
Right.
experienced it, and it did exactly what it was made to do. And it's just unfortunate that our society spends so much time and money and influence just to have those really tasty, ultra palatable processed foods available to the public that ultimately is making us sick. Again, not part this episode to jump in, but we're doing our part, right? We are getting out, we're speaking, we're talking, we're communicating, educating people and encouraging them, and creating real life transformations. When someone awakens, in a sense, they take the red pill and they come out of the matrix, so to speak, and like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, why have I been eating all this stuff? Well, it's because Kellogg's has spent billions of dollars to tell you that Frosted Flakes is great thing to eat first thing in the morning and right
Yeah,
before bed too, because why not?
yeah, right. I just had somebody respond to me on my YouTube channel saying, "Thanks to you, I'm now eating protein for breakfast." And he was like
Yes.
listening, and he goes, "I used to just have strawberry zingers."
Yeah, right. Oh, nothing like starting that insulin roller coaster off the first thing in the morning, right?
Yeah, yeah, pretty scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Now,
I do. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was you finish. I already know what I'm going to say.
Oh, I was just gonna say that it's important. I mean, people say to me, like you did at the beginning, like, "Well, you don't look like you're on the verge of turning 70." And
Right.
what I try to say to people, and I don't know that they always believe me, but I have been working on what I am
Right.
today for 25 years.
Yes.
For
Yes.
25 years,
Right.
it's day in and day out
Right.
and not always super disciplined. I
No,
don't
you don't have to be,
every
right?
year. So I
Right.
let myself off the hook a little bit,
Right.
Thanksgiving dinner, right?
Right.
But
Right.
then you're right back in it. And I want your audience to remember that your future self is just about to be born right now. Just about to be born.
Right.
What do you want that new self to be?
Right. Right. I think of me being 43. By the time I'm 70, it's what, 30, if I do the math correctly, it's 27 years or something like that left. I can be a millionaire just investing
Yeah,
properly. I can have and own a house. I can own cars. I can have uh, challenging to grow a family at this point at 43, depending on how young or old my wife is or remaining fertile. But
right.
I could have like a whole other life in that time frame and
Yes.
still come out really well. So this is a wake up call if you're listening in
Right.
and you're like, wow, I'm completely lost. I don't know what to do. I just don't
Right.
feel well. I don't like myself, the way I
Yeah.
look, feel, any of that stuff. It
Mhm.
can be different.
Yeah. Absolutely. You control it, and
Yep.
it's easy to kind of like forget that in the mad rush of life, but we do have choices that we can make. They're the arch
Right.
you're in architect years now where you're building your future health,
Right.
and
Right.
strength and muscle that are laid down now are insurance for when you are 70 or 80. Life insurance, you're doing it right now for
Yeah.
then. And
Yes.
you
Yes.
you won't know until you get there, and
Right.
you don't wanna be like, "Wow, I should have done
Right.
something."
And life insurance in quotations costs a lot more if the next say 25 years is in poor health,
Yes.
poor nutrition. It's gonna the ROI on that investment is significantly in the wrong direction than where you want it to be, and it will cost you way more. Everyone's like, oh, health insurance costs so much now, what do you think it'll be like in 25 years? Holy moly, right?
Yeah,
And if you have a heart attack, that is a clear six-figure occurrence that you pray that there might be insurance that can cover you, but also like, well, this one
right,
little tiny clause in this one thing, and yeah, it's on you, not us. You're like, wait a minute here, it's okay.
right, right.
But take your own health into your own hands as much as you can, and it will give you the dividends, the ROIs beyond just feeling good, looking good, but the ability to experience life on a significantly higher level is what's at cost here.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly. It is that, what do you call it? Sweat equity.
Yes, yes, yes. And a lot of it's free, right? You
Yeah,
can drink water, you can go to sleep on time, you can walk your body, you can do calisthenics. All of the stuff is free and readily available to you to start and do and be healthy. So,
and each of those things you mentioned, those are little habit tweaks, you don't have to
yes,
do everything at once, but
right,
pick one thing, perfect that, because every little habit that
right,
you change for the better is another vote for the person you
right,
want to be. And
right.
it's another way of really underlining that you are who you say you are. If you're,
Yes,
if you're amazing at work and you're the hero of the day, how are you that for yourself? Are
right.
you who you say you are? Then let's get to it.
Yes. Let's do the work here, people. Yep, exactly. Well, I'm curious about what are some of the other things that you talk about or hear other people talking about, especially when it comes to, say, longevity, taking care of yourself. Are there any other highlights that come to mind from you or your colleagues when you're on the speaking circuit?
Yes, one of the things that we talked about quite a bit in this I was in, Minneapolis a couple of months ago, and there was a lot of talk about this idea that how important it is, especially for men when they retire from their career,
Hmm.
and now if they're especially if they're still healthy,
Yes.
what now, you know?
Right.
And so what is it that you wanna do next? So one of the things we've talked about is that even more for men than women, I think your identity is caught up in what you do,
Of
what do you
course.
do? And it's the first thing
Right.
we ask somebody.
Yep.
And then that just ends. Well, I used to do this. Right?
Right. Your past
What?
identity.
Yeah. But
I
there's
used to
got
play football back in high school,
yeah, yeah,
and then I haven't taken care of myself at all since then.
right. But you still want to go heavy or go home, and that's a problem.
Right. Yep.
I think that having a vision for who you want to be next. What are the things that you've always enjoyed doing,
Right.
barely had time to do, that could now expand?
Right.
Who are you now? Really journaling and meditating and therapist, whatever you need to do to get
Right.
that out. But
Right.
find out who are you now or who do you want to be next? Because it's really completely up to you. You
Yes.
don't have
Yes.
to punch in, you're
Right.
you now.
Right.
And so having those goals and aspirations, and many people in my audience, they're always very active goals like traveling
Right.
or getting better at their golf game or their pickleball or their
Right.
tennis.
Right. Pickleball is all the rage, right?
Yeah, yeah. And just having like what is it right now that you love doing that maybe you don't get to do a lot, but you love doing it, that you don't want to give up when you're 70 or
Right.
75. That
Right.
gives you joy. Even if you don't have grandchildren yet, you will. So
Yep.
do you want to be able to pick up your grandchildren and play with them without throwing your back out? Do you want to be able to
Yeah.
get down to the floor and play with them? Or
Yep.
is it going to hurt your knees or your hips? You want to
Mhm.
take care of yourself
Right.
so that things that bring you alive do not go away when you
Right.
retire, when you're 80. I think
Right.
about Dick Van Dyke. Dick Van Dyke is he's 99 right now, and he is turning 100 years old on Saturday.
Wow.
And he
Wow.
has this amazing presence. He's written a book
Yeah.
about what did he do to make it here. Well, he
Yeah.
loves to dance. He loves to dance. He quit smoking and drinking in time. He'll
Yeah.
tell you.
Yeah. Living in that's a high celebrity lifestyle, right?
Yeah, well,
Back in the day.
he was back in the days of Mad Men when everybody smoked and drank.
Yep.
He was young, and so
Smoking was cool.
yeah, TV stars in the '60s, everybody smoked like chimneys. But he also just has this joie de vivre where he just loves being alive and
Right.
being vibrant, and he speaks very
Yeah.
eloquently of this, but it's because he stayed moving and he stayed
Right.
challenged and kept looking for the next
Right.
thing that he was interested in. Super
Right.
important.
Right. And let's think. So he's turning 100, and there's 30 years from where you're at to where he's at. And again, you can reinvent your whole life, and you can be a millionaire, and you can do da 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 if you focus your energy and you choose to become these things in a sense.
Yes.
But ultimately, what Janet's saying is you need to live a happy, healthy life that has some purpose and intention to it to be able to thrive, because without those things, then life is meaningless in a sense.
Right.
I know one thing that I'm going to have a big problem with here in the next daughter's 10 and my oldest is 16, and they're going to empty nest at some point relatively
Right.
sooner rather than later. Now, all of a sudden, holy cow, my oldest is driving now and 2 in high
Yeah.
school, and holy cow, it's just going to be my wife and I here within 10 years, basically. And that's going to be a radical transformation in my day-to-day life. And I was crazy busy last week with school activities, and was going out of my mind trying to juggle all the things. But then fast forward in 10 years, I will be missing those things so much
Right.
so. And if I'm not careful, life will get very boring because no matter what, my whole family environment was 6 people. There's 15 relationships, and it's like this dopamine pinball machine. You want
Yeah.
this and this, and then we're going here, and it's just like
Yeah.
constantly going on. And it's going to be a very interesting transition into what that part of life will look like for my wife and I. But huge opportunity to obviously stay engaged with my family. It's going to evolve. There's going to be a more opportunity to travel. We've traveled all 50 states. We're going to work on all 7 continents now. And then after that, it'll be the finer parts of travel or different adventures that we haven't been able to seek out or whatever. Who knows? It'll be wild and
Right.
crazy, but
Right.
fun, and we'll live in anticipation. That's one undertone I always tell clients is we have to live in anticipation of what's to come and be excited and have something exciting on your calendar, even if it is just hanging out with your family or with a friend or traveling somewhere or doing a 5K or writing a book, whatever it might be. But we need to have some sense of purpose and excitement of something that's to come.
Yeah. Yeah, all that stuff is so true. And when you said 7 continents, you made me think of this lady that I just finished training a couple years ago, who wanted to see all 7 continents,
Yeah.
and she was 82.
Oh,
She
wow.
had 5 of them already checked off, and she
Oh,
had 2 more. So she needed help because she wanted to go to Australia and
yeah.
scuba dive in the
Oh,
Great Barrier Reef.
yeah.
So she got certified, and then
That's
she trained
awesome.
with me so that she could be strong enough, and she did it.
That's awesome. Such a
Yeah.
a blessing
Too.
there. Yeah, that is so awesome. What are maybe as we start to wrap here, but what are some other success stories that you've seen from your clients like that? That is a huge amount of success that you can't put into terms. I'll start with one and then I'll turn it over. But I had a lady, her name was Betsy Finley. She was a personal training client of another person at the gym that I was at. She started coming to my phenomenal abdominal class on Mondays at 5. And then she came to my spinning class. And then she started doing my shake and bake Friday night boot camp class. And then all of a sudden, the other trainer stops. She changed job roles. And I was like, I'll take Betsy. Yes, please. And from 55 to 60 now, I just want to say she never worked out before age 50. Okay, because it just wasn't part of culture. I imagine you probably felt that too on some level. It's just like, yeah, no one worked out when I was younger unless you were just like a tomboy or something like that, right? The
Right.
girls' sports were just not that much of a thing as they are now in the
Yeah.
availability opportunity there.
Right.
So she didn't work out before and she wanted to go kayak. She wanted to reinvent her life and do fun things and go on hikes and take pictures of wildlife and all. And she became a CrossFit world champion at the age of 60. She could deadlift 250 pounds. She could lift 100 pounds overhead. She could do rope climbs. She could do pull-ups. She could do all these crazy things just because we did what Janet said was just progression. We just lifted a little bit more than we did the last time. We just kept good form and technique. And hey, you lifted this last time. How about we lift this plus 5 pounds? And all of a sudden, she was really strong, really fit, really capable. And again, we didn't let her skip leg day either or brain day, but she was functionally fit, capable to do fun, exciting things at the age of 60 plus. And you
Great.
know far
That's
more
great.
than a lot that having that level of strength and that ability allows for you to go travel around and jump on speaker circuits and do all sorts of fun stuff, which is really fun. That's probably what I will do as my kids start to move out of like, well, let me go talk somewhere and go travel.
Yeah.
Someone pay me to speak and fly me places, please.
Yeah, I mean, all of that, just having the energy available to me to do all these things that I'm doing is, I mean, I think I'm busier now than I was 15 years ago,
Right.
but it's all things I've chosen and that I've worked toward. But there's story that I can think of I'm thinking of a story of one of my guys. he was a Seattle police officer,
Okay.
and he was the
I've
kind
worked
of
with
police,
one of those before.
yeah, that walked. He walked his beat. He didn't
Okay.
have a car. I mean, he didn't use a car. He knew his neighborhood really well. He was a
Right.
very recognizable
Right.
face on his
Right.
so as we know, police officers often retire at a fairly young age compared to the rest of
Right.
us.
Right.
And so around in his, he was probably about 50 and he retired. And then he'd worked hard his whole life, was pretty fit because he was walking all
Right.
day. And he moved here to Arizona for, retirement. And it
Right.
was a great golf. It was a great place. So but he proceeded to be very sedentary. He just
Uh,
thought, I can relax now. I don't
right.
have to set the alarm. I don't have to do any of that stuff I did before. And he sat around a lot beyond walking his dog,
Uh,
maybe mowing his lawn. He was
right.
not physically active. So sadly, he contracted Parkinson's
Uh,
after about 10 years or so into his retirement.
right.
But what was he doing? He wasn't exercising. He was eating ice cream before bed
Yeah.
as a regular thing,
Right.
lots of sugar while he slept, insulin, right?
Right.
And various other unhealthy habits. He started to develop a little spare tire.
Right.
So his wife said, you need to get to the gym. You're not being healthy. And
Right.
this is south fast. And I love
Right.
you. I don't want to see this
Right.
happen to you. So he signed up and trained with me. And after a year, I mean, he loved it. It was fun.
Yeah.
I,
So you
he,
probably tapped into his younger self, right?
yeah,
Hey, you're a strong, handsome man. Let's get back in
yeah.
moving and tapped into all that energy.
His joy for it reminded me of my joy for it
Yeah.
when I first encountered it. It was like, it's like, this feels so good.
Yeah.
And you get pretty much better pretty quickly.
Yeah.
If you're really consistent, you see progress really quickly. And he just loved that. So, he started. So after about a year, he came to me and he goes, because he went to a neurologist, obviously for his
Yeah.
Parkinson's, and he was taking some minor medications to control the tremors, but that
Right.
was it, kind of early stage
Okay.
still. But his doctor said, I don't understand it. I don't understand why you're not getting worse. And so, so he didn't have to up his meds. And this doctor, of course, was treating lots of Parkinson's patients. The general progression, it's a progressive degenerative disease and there's no cure. So
Right.
it's just a matter of keeping the person functional as long as you can. But this was the one patient who was actually strength training.
Yes. Yep.
And he kept saying that. And then he'd go back 3 months later for a checkup again. And nope, still don't know why you're not getting worse. And that is what made me curious
Yeah.
about the connection.
Ah, yes.
Dug into the research and found out, sure enough, these
Yeah.
papers were coming out from
Right.
neurologists who were finding that there's something to lifting. So
Right.
even now, he's still very active. There has been a little bit of progression, it's been 4 years. So,
Right.
the stuff he's experiencing now, he should have experienced in 1 year.
Right. Right.
So it's going to extend the quality of his life just because his wife got after him and said, you need to go to the gym.
Yep. That's excellent. Kudos for her to stepping up and calling him out and making sure he did something, because sometimes spouses or people don't, and they end up, again, guilt by association. The people you spend your time with
Right.
will either lift you up or sink your ship, in a sense. And if they
Right.
both were just dozing off on the couch with ice cream bowls on the visceral fat stomachs that are poking out, then yeah, they're both gonna die younger because of just lack of movement. Humans are meant to move. We have to move until you die. And I have an 83-year-old that I'm working with, and she was talking about she's having a hard time keeping food and calories from getting burned too much. She's 83 and she's like, I keep losing weight. And so she's like, maybe I should stop going to the gym. I say,
No.
Setsu is her name. I said, Setsu, we can't do this. I am not going to advocate that you move less. I'm going to advocate that you eat more. And
Right.
whether we eat when you first wake up, and you eat right before you go to bed, and we eat as much as we can in there, and higher calorie foods, whole foods, and more calorie dense starches and healthy fats, then that's what we're going to do, because the answer is not move less in your situation. The answer is eat more, and that's what we're going
Right,
to do.
right.
It's
It's funny
move.
you're this because a week from today, the video that will drop in my channel is about if you've been skinny all your life and you now realize you need to strength train to preserve
Yeah.
your bones and your
Yes.
muscle, what do you do? Because
Right.
you've never diet. And one of the recommendations was that there's ways that I give where you can sneak calories in that are healthy to
Yes.
make it easier to meet your calorie
Right.
demand so that
Right.
you don't keep losing weight, but you also don't feel bloated and heavy.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, this is awesome. From a really busy active life to realizing you got called out and you did something about it. Now you're at the young, beautiful age of 70, and you're thriving and more energy than probably any other 7-year-old that you ever come encounter with, right? But you're using it for the better of mankind, the better of humans, and encouraging people to take better care of themselves. And so where can we find more out about you, your website, your YouTube channel? Like where can we go to hang out with Janet?
The most active spots are that my YouTube channel, Aging Strong for Life, and I trust that you will post the link for
Yeah,
that.
it'll be in the show notes below, right? If I'm pointing down below, right? Yeah.
That yeah, it's on fire right now. It's
That's
I'm
awesome.
having kind of a viral moment, but I think it's just
Yeah.
on because there's a lot of people out there looking for answers on how
Yes.
to age strong, what to cut through all the noise and all of
Right.
the fluff and the hype
Right.
and the extreme language and
Yeah.
it's like straightforward
Right.
information, just like what you would give, where it's like, here's the steps, here's what you
Yes.
do, here's a
Yep.
story, here's what I tried, here's what didn't work.
Yep.
So it's all of that. And then the other place I'm on a lot is LinkedIn,
Yeah.
because LinkedIn is where people that are wanting to look for speakers hang
Yes.
out. So I'm there a lot, but I post a lot of videos there as well
Right.
that are short and
Right.
to the point.
Right.
My website is really just a place that houses all of my
Right.
services for training,
Sure.
and which I just train in person right now. I'm thinking about launching an online coaching program,
Yep.
but I haven't. I've just sort of
You
like
should,
got
because that's what I've been doing for 10 years, and I would probably not go back. I do like in person, but the
that.
capacity and reach, and if you're going to travel a bunch, you can still have
Yeah,
active clientele and not miss a payday in a sense, because you're
right.
not there, right?
It's more
Yeah,
scalable. Yeah, it's more scalable.
exactly. Yep. Yep.
I'm considering that now, and writing another book. I have my first book is Elements of Aging Well, my journey so far.
Yep. Look at that. Show that picture again one more time. You can see this on our website too, but you look great. You've done so well
Thank
taking care of
you.
yourself.
Yeah, there's pictures in there of my bodybuilding pictures too, but I want to write another book. It's the working title is Unretired and Unstoppable.
Yes, that's
But
that's
I think of this time, Brian, I think of this time in my life and in your clients who are getting older, that this is the bonus round, you
yes.
know, in a
Extra
game show.
innings.
Like, yes, where you can win the
Yep.
game with one thing, like,
Yes.
Jeopardy, and then there's Double Jeopardy, and then there's Final Jeopardy. And in Final Jeopardy, you could be in third place and you could still win,
Yes. Right.
and that's kind of my working, you know, premise for what
Yeah.
I want to write in this book. So I'm working
Nice.
on that now.
That's
But those
awesome.
are the two best places to find me,
Yeah.
is my
The
YouTube channel.
YouTube and LinkedIn. Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you. Do you have one last parting gift, in a sense, a tip, trick, hack, something that you could part us with, that someone like, yeah, that's really good stuff.
Well, I just heard the other day on a podcast where the person said, I think it was like a Buddhist saying, or, some Zen thought
Yeah.
leader who said, Don't pray for the road to get easier.
Right.
Work to build stronger legs.
Yes.
And so that kind
Yes.
of goes along with my idea of easy is the enemy and
Yes.
challenge is the cure.
Yep. I totally agree with that. Life is meant to be lived. There are going to be challenges that you have to overcome. And the people who are successful have learned the skills and understand that their change is inevitable. It happens every single day of your life. There's change and you have to adapt. And the strongest adapters will survive. And
Mm,
that's just evolution,
mm.
period.
That's right.
That's the
Yeah.
world that we live in. So buckle up. Retirement doesn't mean sit on a couch and eat ice cream and bonbons and start your day with strawberry zingers. It's you
Meet it
still have to
head on.
move and you have to find a different stimulus for how you channel your energy.
That's right. Yeah. Go down swinging.
Yep, exactly. Well, I want to thank you and I want to thank everyone for listening to Driven for Health. And this is episode 36 with Janet McConnell, and all her information will be down below. But what we both agree on is live life in a challenge and conquer everything that comes your way. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.